This video will show you how to complete certification reviews, certification decisions, and issue LGAP certificates using the AniMark Conformance System. The first step in doing a review is accessing the list of reviews in the system. When you've logged into the reviewer portal, or you're the certification body user with reviewer rights, you'll be able to navigate to the Audit Orders page. So you can see on the left-hand side there are a number of filters. If you go to Review Pool, it will give you a list of all the audits in the system that have just been received and from auditors. The workflow status should be set to Audit Finished in the pool. To accept that review, click on the audit and hit the Accept Responsibility button. This will move the audit to the Review in Progress or New Reviews filter. If you then click on the audit again and then Edit Audit Order, you'll be able to start the review. Alternatively, you can check the auditor's details by clicking the Entity button, or you can move it back to the review pool for someone else to do. So if we hit the Edit Audit button, it brings up the audit that the auditor has completed. The Start page looks at the audit details, the audit participants, and down the bottom there's the auditor's recommendations and any additional information that they wanted to provide. Navigating through the audit is quite simple. You can use the navigation bars along the top to move through different areas. So if we move on to preparation, it gives you information over the auditee and the audit. For example, we can see here that they're being audited to 1001, 1002, and also a risk assessment. The rest is information. All findings will actually give you any non-conformities in the system that are open and need to be considered and closed before the review can be finished. Moving on to the checklist. This is where the audit checklist is and where the auditor has completed their answers and added their comments and evidence. You can see here's the question, yes or no. Paperclip button gives you access to any files they've added to that checklist, and the comment box is what they found or the evidence they're providing as part of that audit. You can use the filters on the left-hand side to expand and collapse the checklist so you can see and view it how it makes sense to you. So basically you can just scroll down, read through all of the questions and answers, and complete your review. When you finish reading the audit checklists, you can then look at the risk assessment. And the risk assessment is important because it sets the risk rating. You as the reviewer are able to change the risk rating if you don't believe that the audit result was correct. When the auditor completes the risk assessment, they're answering questions and selecting control options based on risks in the context of the audit they've just completed. So for example, under number 1 here, we have identification system used. So the question is asking what animal identification is in place at the facility. And it's giving you a list of options. So part of this audit, the auditor has identified that they have electronic IDs with visual backups. So he's able to select one in this instance. You're also able to access the review or the control options by selecting the memo button, and it tells you select 1, select 1, select 2, select 5, depending on what is in place at the audit. So you're able to review all of the risks and answers to make sure the auditor's answered everything correctly. And then once you're finished, you can then use the navigation bar at the top to go along to the findings. Again, the findings will be any non-conformities in the system that need to be actioned or closed before you can issue the certificate. So you can see there's a number of filters here as well. So there's nothing on this profile, which is good. So we can move along to the certification tab. So the certification tab has 2 sub-pages. One is the certification of operations and one is where you issue the certificates. So as we can see here, if it was a new certification or a recertification audit, we want to be changing the certified on date and the valid until date. We also need to make sure that there's a review result in there as well. You can change the review result by clicking into the field and selecting a different result. We're going to leave it as certified. If it was their first certification, we would put in today's date, as well as a valid until date, which is 3 years from today's date. You can make a comment about the certification in the comment field as well. If you input the details into this bar here that has LGAP, it will actually make that change in all of the subsection below as well. So you only have to input it into one row. When you're happy with that, you can hit save, and then you can toggle to certificates. And this is where you issue the certificate. So in here we need to go add new. So we issue a new certificate. You just need to make sure that the LGAP template and the audit that you've just reviewed is selected. From here, just double check that the valid until date is 3 years from the day of issue, and then hit save and close. That will create the certificate, and then we can select it, and firstly you want to preview it. It will download a copy, and you can just check to make sure that all of the information is there and correct. So we have the name, the address, the certification number, their basic activities, what livestock they handle, what standards they've been certified to, their status, and their scope is on the annex. The certificate ID number will be generated once we approve the certificate, and then we have the valid until and the issued on dates here. The certification body details will be included here as well, and the QR code will appear here once the certificate has been approved. The annex includes the scope of certification, so we can see that Charlie Feedlots is Australian livestock for cattle level 2. So once we're happy that the certificate is all correct, we can close it, and then we need to approve the certificate or accept it. So we just need to move to the Finish Certificate and Assign Certificate Number button. It's the one with the little tick on it, and once we click that, it will finish the certificate, and if we preview it again, we'll see that there's now a certificate number and the QR code. Once you hit approve, it actually becomes available in the Auditees portal for viewing. So it's very important that you approve the certificate and that the dates are correct. Once you're happy with that, you can just move through the rest of it. So if there's any files that you want to add on, you can. You can also reissue the audit report if you like. Go back into the checklist or toggle to the end and hit the print button. From here, then you can save it, which will save a new copy to their file. It will also download one for you. See, when you get this message, it means that something's been saved in the files for that system. And then the audit report will be here as well. The auditor should have issued one when they finished the report, but you can do it here as well as them. You can see here that the risk rating has pulled through, as well as the auditor's recommendations, the audit details, and then of course all of the information around the audit. On the end page, we can then finish off the audit. So like I said, if you wanted to change the risk rating because you weren't happy with what the auditor had put in, you can do that here. But if you do, be sure to add in any details around why you've changed that risk rating. You can then finish the audit. So where it says finish review, you can hit apply, and that will finish the review in the system. Now that review has been moved to the review completed pot. So as you can see, It's now finished. If you want to go back in and have a look at it, you can open it again, but you won't be able to make any changes. And that's how you complete reviews, certification decisions, and issue certificates using the AniMark Conformance System.